Hey guys, this is Collin Moshman for CardRunners.com. Today we have a deep run I made in the Hot 55 Turbo MTT on PokerStars. Now as we'll see, the final table ends up not going well for me, and I fall quickly to a 3-blind stack. However, that kind of thing happens a lot in Turbo MTTs, and one of the big things we're going to look at in the end game is whether that was inevitable or whether I missed spots and could have avoided it. We're also going to look at post-flop play in the early and middle stages, shove, 3-bet call, 3-bet shove that is, in call ranges, and a solid strategy for navigating all phases of Turbo MTT tournaments. So let's get right to the action. A few folds. And Jack 10 suited here, I fold, which is a mistake. This is probably a multi-tabling error, but given that we're 150 blinds deep, I think we can definitely put in a call profitably with suited connectors down to about 6-5 suited, particularly if there's some weaker players at this table likely to make significant post-flop mistakes. So 9-5 suited, I would have open folded on the button. And we have a few more folds before we get to pocket fours. And generally in this we're 100 blinds or deeper, in which case I would default open raise any pocket pair. I will fold the low pocket pairs under the gun in early position. So here my open raising range from the pairs would be about 6s or 7s plus, as well as ace queen off, ace 10 suited, queen jack suited, and king queen offsuit. And so I fold the pocket fours. And we'll go through the hands where we just fold pre a little bit quicker and get to the majority of the action in the middle and late stages of this game. So Jack 3 offsuit, another clear fold. And the next hand that we're going to play is pocket queens in the small blind, and we face a raise and 2 calls. Now one of the things about a spot like this is depending on the prior action, we're not always going to be 3-betting the queens. So as an example of that, let's say that UTG and I were 3K deep, and he was a tag player, maybe he raises to 200, it gets to us, he's playing something like 15-13, then I would actually just flat, because if I 3-bet, I think I'm usually going to fold out most worse hands in his range, and against his range for 4-betting and stacking off, I have poor equity. So we usually want to at least look at the initial raiser and assess. However, here we have a very clear 3-bet, and the biggest reason for that is the fact that the initial raiser just min-raised and the overlay. So my 3-betting range here is going to be approximately 10s, ace-king, ace-queen suited. With deuces through 9s, I would flat and be primarily set mining, but we also definitely have some opportunity to play small to mid-sized pots profitably with those hands. In the ace-x hand category, from ace-jack offsuit and lower, I would just fold. I would flat ace-10 and ace-jack suited. And when we do 3-bet here, if we have queens plus ace-king, we're just about always stacking off because of the fact that this overlay from these players, who are usually going to be basically dead money if there's serious action pre-flop in the spot, is going to widen my 3-bet shove range. It should widen correspondingly his 4-bet range. So generally we're going to have a pretty mandatory stack off with at least queens, ace-king, often pocket jacks, and with a hand like 10s, if we raise here to about 550 and this player 4-bet shoves, then we would usually just throw away the hand. So that's going to be our pre-flop range. I make it 555 here, and only this player calls. So before we even get to the flop, we want to think a little bit about his range. And generally a player who flats the initial raise and then flats our 3-bet is going to be some kind of more loose passive recreational player, and he's going to have a lot of low mid pairs, suited aces, speculative hands that look pretty like queen jack suited. So that's the kind of range we put him on. And on a 3 undercard flop, we're going to very happily stack off. Now the key thing here though is our sizing. So what we want to do is size an amount that's small enough to really rope him in, so that if he has a hand like, for example, Jack 10 of clubs with double overcards and the backdoor club draw, backdoor straight draw, that we maximize our chances of him continuing on in this hand. So I would bet a maximum here of about a 3rd pot. I actually go a little bit less than that, and he folds, but I think this kind of a line of betting very small at the flop is going to maximize our value and chances of him continuing on in this hand, and find by the late streets that he's inadvertently committed himself.